You're listening to Entrepreneur's Enigma, a podcast about the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. Every week, your host Seth Goldstein interviews entrepreneurs from all walks of life about their entrepreneurial journeys. From store owners to Fortune 500 CEOs, we all have stories to tell. So sit back and join us for the next 20 or so minutes while we explore the entrepreneurial world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur's Enigma podcast. I'm your host, Seth. Today, I have my buddy, Nick Bennett, who I've known for a bunch of years now. He is the host, the co-founder of the go-to-market strategy cohort community called TACK. It's online at tackpro.com. New domain name as of today, as of yesterday. They are realigning things, but it's a great community for go-to-markets professionals and all that stuff. He also the writer extraordinaire of the B2B Influencer Marketing book, where it talks to people about how to be an influencer in the B2B space, which is very interesting. And guess what? It comes out today, not recording day, but on release day of this podcast. Second time I'm doing this where it actually unplanned. This one was completely unplanned. Comes out, episode of my podcast comes out on launch day for the author. So Nick, how you doing, big guy?
Excited to be here. Appreciate you. Always love when we get to talk. So
it's fun. And if you didn't notice, he's from Boston. I'm from Philly. So if you need to use closed captioning, it's not going to hurt our feelings. It just is what it is. He's got a fake Boston accent. I got a fake Philly accent, and we're just going to go with it. So who is Nick Bennett, besides an author and a community organizer in the go-to-market space? Who's Nick? Oh, and also the father of adorable kids.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's like I've been in the B2B world, mostly tech, for the last 13 years, working in-house for Series A to Series D startups, have gone through multiple acquisitions, have gone through going through an IPO, have gone through a company running out of runway. Have been laid off 3 times. It's been a wild ride, but I've mostly came up as a field marketer, event marketer, did account-based marketing, did customer marketing, moved into the evangelism space.
You've been all over the place.
Oh, all over the place. Yeah. And I also have three small kids. I have a 6-year-old and identical twin girls that are 19 months now.
Oh, wow. I remember when they were born. 19 months about it. And they're identical twins.
Time flies.
Yeah. Can you tell them apart?
So it's gotten a lot harder because before, one of them used to have a vein across her nose and like it's starting to fade a little bit. So one has a birthmark on her rib cage. And so,
you gotta say, hold on, which one are you? Lift up her shirt and say, oh, you're that one.
And one of them in her eye, so they have blue eyes, but one of them has a little speck of brown in her eye, or in her right eye.
These are very subtle differences.
You have to like look at it to be able to tell, though.
But isn't there always, and this is turning to the parenting podcast, isn't there always one crazier one than the other one? Like one's more docile.
100%. One of them is like spicy, kind of like my 6-year-old, but then one of them is like super laid back, mostly like me.
So you can usually tell by which one's off the walls.
Yeah, exactly. The one that's like one of like the spicy one bites the other one. So
so you know which one it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go look at the one with the bite marks.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's hilarious. So you've been doing this for a while, and then you finally decide, hey, I'm gonna go full in on the community. And I mean, that's brave, because we were talking before the show and the many takes we had fighting with Squadcast at the very beginning. Technology is not my friend some days, but anyhow, we were talking before the show about how, we first met in the Peak community and how that kind of gone by the wayside, and communities are tough. And TACK kind of has an active community, and you're also busting your backside on it. I mean, you and Mark your co-founder, are really hitting it up every single day. There's always something going on in there. I mean, you've had to pivot platforms. We just, I don't remember if we even said this in this take, but you just had to pivot from your URL to tackpro.com tackpro.com. I think it was in the last take. Who knows? Who knows when it came up? But tackpro.com. You had to get off of Audience Plus because they ran out of runway and they're shutting down. So that's the video platform you were using. I mean, it's life, but like, how you finding the community building going? How's that going for you?
It's definitely tough. I feel like, we've gone through a lot of messaging and positioning, like what works, what doesn't work. I've talked to a lot of members, figure out like, hey, we've changed our pricing like 20 times. We used to charge way more money, and then we were like, oh, maybe we'll do less. We had a monthly option. We saw a lot of churn, so we were like, you know what? We're just going to do a yearly option.
Yeah, because you do a year,
It's
you're in it, and then you find value. You can't find value in a month.
exactly. And so it's been good, but Mark and I we met a couple of weeks ago, and so we've determined that for 2025, like our jobs are going to
Met in
differentiate a
person.
little
Let's just
bit.
say that met in person. You
Yeah,
you know each other for a
met in
while
person.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, we only met a few
exactly.
weeks ago, but this probably what we've been doing in this community for longer.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, we've been doing it for almost a year and a half, but what we realized was we need to like dedicate time to this to be successful. So
you do.
80% of my job in 2025 is going to be like the media network and the community, and like we're rebranding and everything. By the
Love
time
it.
this podcast launches, it will launch because on December 10th is when it goes live. So by the time the podcast comes out, I will be able to share the new landing page and all of that. But
Ooh.
80% of my time will be geared towards that. 20% of my time will be geared towards customers, whereas Mark will kind of be like inverted, where 80% of his time will be out selling like the services side of our business and
Yeah.
like dealing with clients, and 20% will be on like the community.
Yeah. He'll do his daily takes, and you'll be doing your daily takes a lot more.
It, it, it,
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
exactly. Well, and we realized like the only reason we're surviving is because of the services side of the business. Like that's thriving. Like it probably
Yeah.
drives 90% of our revenue. So if we focus less on that, we're not going to be around anymore. But
Yeah.
we need to dedicate time on this because we do truly think that it can actually turn into something a lot better if we have focused dedication.
Exactly. I find that a lot of businesses are trying to do communities. I mean, a lot of them are trying to also do podcasts, which is I'm thrilled about. I'm thrilled because come talk to me. I do podcast coaching, all that stuff. But like my whole thing is that, but a lot. I know Justin Levy, who we all know. He was at Demand Base. Now he's at ZoomInfo. He has a community that he's running, and those are always fun to do. But it's kind of interesting when you think about it. They're hard, and you're constantly putting out like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then eventually people are gonna start picking up saying, hey, this is a daily activity. I want to be in here and respond to these things.
100%. Well, fun fact about the Zoom Info community is we actually helped build them that. They hired TACK originally.
Nice.
Zoom Info was a client of ours. We helped build that original community with Justin. Actually, I got Justin hired for that job. We were working with the CMO and like Justin's boss, who they were like, hey, we're
Yeah.
going to open this rec. And I was like, hey, I know someone that just unfortunately
I
lost
got a
their
guy.
job.
Yeah, you got a guy
Yeah. And
who's
it worked out.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
He really embraces the whole community aspect of stuff. I mean, as you guys do too. So then you decided, like, was it last year? You decided to write a book, which is brave and it's or nuts in its own right.
It is. And to be honest with you, I actually had no intention of writing a book. The publisher
No
reached
one
out.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And the publisher was like, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, that sounds like a lot of work, to be honest with you. And they're like, yeah, it is. And I was like, yeah.
Way to
I was like,
sell an idea, guys.
and I'm not really interested. But then I started to talk to like Mark and a few others.
Hmm.
He was like, this could be, I mean, we're not going to make money off the book. Like it's
Yeah.
small, like
It's a
$3 a
loss
book.
leader.
Yeah, yeah. And we were like, but we could use this to drive the services side of our business or
Yeah.
like partnerships or other things like that.
Yeah.
So it took me a year and a half and like I
That's not
missed
that
so
bad.
many deadlines.
Ugh.
And the publisher was like, we're canceling your book. They canceled my book like 3 times. And they're like, you're not taking this seriously. And I was like, listen, I'm taking it
You have
very
three
seriously. I just don't
kids.
have time.
Yeah, you have three kids.
Yeah.
Two of us are identical, and a
Yeah, right.
wife, a mortgage, a business.
Yeah.
Like, come on, people, come on, give me a break.
I know. And this probably took me like 300 hours to write, like, and I did most of it on the weekends at nights. Like sometimes I did it throughout the day at work. I would block out like an hour and just like bang it out, but like
Yeah.
it's 312 pages, and
It's
The,
impressive.
yeah, yeah. I never do. I always hated in college when they were like, "Oh, you got to write like a 10-page report." Like, oh, I hated that. Like, I would be good for like a page or two, but like 10
Yeah.
pages, no, I hated doing that. Oh.
300 and more. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And what I did when I was like, all right, I hate like personally, I don't read books. I don't read a ton of books. Like I would much
Yeah.
rather listen to one or listen to a
Yeah.
podcast or whatever. But I said, I want to write this with the intention that you don't have to go from start to finish. You can go
Love
and
those
jump around.
books. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I always read the books start to finish because I feel like I want to,
Yeah.
but I like that I can go back and reference things that I want to reference. Or if
Yeah.
like on Kindle, which I have the book, the advanced book on, I lost my place and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna take Nick some advice and just pick up chapter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thankfully, I didn't lose the story because it didn't matter because it is written in such a way that you can read it front to back,
Yep.
or you can say, oh, this looks interesting. I'll read this today, or I'll read
Yeah,
that today.
exactly. Exactly.
And that's I feel like more business books should be that way than instead of like a chronological because it should be a reference.
100%. It's like, and I feel like those are the books that like you'll actually go back and like maybe you'll highlight stuff in because if you read it start to finish, you put the book down, most
You
likely you won't
forget
go back to it.
everything,
Yeah.
or you're reading halfway through and you forget the beginning. And you're like, what did I just
Exactly.
read?
Exactly. And like, who has time to like, especially if you have a family and young kids, like, who has time to sit down and like read a book, like
Guess how many
from
books
like
I'm
start
reading
to
right
finish?
now? Guess how many books I'm reading right now? Just guess.
Three?
Close. I'm reading like five at the same time.
I,
Because I just keep going back, and then I'm like, then I get distracted, and I forget what, and it might be my ADD, but I forget which book I was reading, and I grab the other book. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'll read this. So this was when I say I read half your book is because I loved it because I could just jump in and grab some, and not feel bad about like, well, what did he say in the last chapter? I
yeah,
love that. So thank you, Nick. Thank
love
you,
it.
buddy. So you've worked in the corporate world a long time. You've done countless kinds of jobs, had fun doing it, laid off, left, got ideas to do things, side hustle this, side hustle that. You're an entrepreneur through and through, either an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur. But like, what made you decide finally, like, screw this? I don't want to be screw this. I don't want to be laid off anymore. Or is it more like it's time?
Yeah. It was honestly, it was so Mark and I actually worked together at our last company together. We were at a company called Airmeet, which was in the virtual event space.
I
And he
remember. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the CMO, and he brought me over. We were having dinner, and he was like, "Hey, you should leave your job and like come work for me." And I ended up going there, and 6 months in, I got laid off, but I
Ah,
reported directly up to him. And the founders just decided to go rogue and basically they were from India, moved their business out of the US and focused just on the rest of the world. And
yeah.
Mark was like, have you ever thought about wanting to start a business? Like, I think we could do something that's like part community, part media, and like we both have like strong enough like backgrounds that I think we
Uh-huh.
could complement each other really well.
And you
And
do.
I was like, yeah, like let's do it. Like, what's the worst that happens? It fails, just like everything else like that we've done. And
And
like,
you pivot and you try something different.
exactly. Or you just go back in house. Like
Yeah,
I had a big enough audience where like if I needed a job, I could be like,
you get
hey,
one.
like I need to find a job. Like, who wants to hire me? Like, I can bring a big audience with me, which in tech or MarTech or sales tech specifically, like that helps a
And
ton.
that's gold. And it's gold. Yeah, absolutely. And so, so you're on your own a year and a half now. I remember when you left and you're like, I'm doing this. I'm like, oh, another one of us. Yay. I was like, go for it, buddy. Go for it. And it was neat to see. And so what's the best thing so far of being your own boss, being an entrepreneur? Like, what's the best thing in your mind doing your own thing?
I think it's just like you don't have anyone breathing over your shoulder. I feel like you
Except for
can like
Mark.
yeah, that's true. But
Be a
yeah, I
co-founder,
feel
be
like,
with each other.
yeah. And I feel like, he holds me accountable. I hold him
Yeah,
accountable, but like, there's no one that's saying like, oh, you got to do this because this is the way it was. Like, we write what that rule book is
you write your
now. Like, we
destiny.
decide who we
Destiny.
want to partner with. And it's just, it's so much better when you make the rules of the game versus someone else is
Mhm.
making the rules of the game.
It's so much more fun. Scary.
Yeah.
Like now
Yes.
they'll go into the next question. What keeps you up at night besides your twin girls and your older kid? And they're all girls, right? You have all girls.
All girls. I am
Ugh.
outnumbered. Yes.
You were
Yeah.
outnumbered.
Yeah. Weddings will be expensive.
Yeah. Oh, even more pressure. No pressure, right? Exactly. Exactly. So it
Um,
keeps you up at night besides the family and the girls and making sure that they're safe and all that stuff.
Honestly, the economy, the pipeline, like Q4 has been like rough, and everyone I've talked to has said Q4 has been rough, and like we've been very fortunate that in the last year and a half of running this business, like everything we have gotten from like the services side, brand partnership has all been inbound. We have done zero outbound, um, and we didn't really
But
want to
you've worked
be.
hard for that, though. You got to remember that, like
True,
you've worked years of building up your personal brand. I feel like
true.
people don't realize, oh, it's like your apartment language, shit in gold. It's been, or you're more eloquently, you're a 10-year overnight success.
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah,
it's a great way to put it because I tell people that story and I'm just like, we've had a lot of success and they're like, what do you do for outbound? And I was like, we don't do outbound. They're like, how? And I was like, listen, Mark has been like posting stuff for years. I've been posting stuff for years. He's connected to like the CMOs and the VPs of marketing. I'm connected to the practitioners. Like we've
yeah.
done the jobs. We've worked for successful companies that people know. Like it
Hmm.
all plays into the whole thing. And so what
Personal
keeps me
brand.
up is like, again, it's just it's the economy. It's like the marketing teams that don't have the budget to spend. Like we used to
Yeah,
do 6-month, 12-month retainers, no issue. People wouldn't even flinch at the price. And like
yeah.
we've had to discount so heavily now.
Oh,
Um, we've moved to like some project stuff just because again, like the budget's not there. Now, is January going to bounce back? Q1 for us has always been like relatively really, really good. So
yeah.
we'll see. But I mean, I don't
You
know.
don't
I just,
know. New
yeah.
administration, you have no idea, especially with this one. And we'll leave that one alone.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the thing that keeps both Mark and I up at night. Like, what happens if like we sign no deals for the next 6 months? Fortunately, we were smart and like we've actually had like a healthy cash balance and we've invested some of that into like different types of things that has like generated additional income for
Mhm.
us without us thinking about it. But like there's a chance that come, next summer, like if we don't
They're
sign any
stretching,
deals, which
yeah.
I don't think that would happen, like we have to
No.
pivot and like figure something else out.
But yeah, that's what you gotta do. Nothing wrong with a pivot, nothing wrong with a failure, nothing wrong with a fail. The only thing, if you give up, that's a failure. And that's
Right.
the thing. You don't want to, failure is not an option, really. I hate to say it. Failure is an option. You fail, you fail and you pivot and you try something else. Failure only makes you stronger if you don't fail, if you don't turn it into a failure.
Exactly. Great way to put it. And
Okay.
it's also, it's like, what are the lessons learned from that failure that you can
Mhm.
take forward?
Exactly, exactly. And so, what's the most important thing to carry with you all the time besides the diaper bag?
To be honest with you, like, it's my phone. Like my phone's like my lifeline. Like, and
I absolutely.
like to like LinkedIn, like all these platforms, social platforms, like video, like writing down my
Mhm.
ideas. I do a majority of my work on my cell phone. Like I actually don't like sitting in front of a computer all day.
I'm just at the opposite.
Oh,
Like
really?
I can't. Like I'll even go on Blue Sky or Mastodon. I stay the heck off of X, but like I do most of my stuff at the desk. And then I will use the computer, but like, I mean, use the phone, but it's, I guess, I mean, I'm 43, I'm an elder millennial. I mean, you're a little bit younger, so it's kind of like you're a young whippersnapper that can deal with it, is more phone based. Who knows? I like to know what Mark does because he's
So
more my age.
Mark hates cell phones. He
Yeah,
thinks like they're the worst.
he's more my generation. So that's probably what it is. It's a
Yeah, I'm pretty
generational
sure.
thing.
I'm pretty sure he's actually. I think he's turning 40, or he might be 39 or something like that. But like he like whenever
Older
we,
millennial. Yeah.
yeah, whenever we get together in person, like he's like, I cell phone was the worst thing that was ever invented, and I was just like,
I'm
oh,
not
I
that bad. I'm not that bad. I mean, I know we're throwing Mark under the bus here, but like I'm not that bad. But like it's definitely like my wife does like searches and everything on her phone. And I'm like, and she's 6 months older than me, and I'm still like, uh, I like a full keyboard. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, see, like I like right after we record this, like I don't think I have many meetings the rest of the day,
Oh,
but
good
like
for you.
I'll be at my computer for a meeting, but like I will like do work on my phone. Like it's just or I have an iPad too. Like it's
Yeah, you are. All
small.
right. So there's a hybrid between a computer and a, yeah, you want to be
Yeah.
mobile.
Yeah.
You want to be mobile. And that's what my laptop will come upstairs with me every once in a while, and I'll work
Nice.
mobily and stuff like that. That's kind of cool. So
Yeah.
the book is everywhere on December 31st when this podcast comes out. So don't turn off
Yes.
the podcast yet. We're almost done. But after the podcast, go buy the book and read it. Maybe not chronologically. Maybe read a piece here, piece there, get your highlighter out. I mean, there's so much good information in there. You're going to have to read it like piece by piece because there's so much information you're going to have to let it absorb. I'm reading
Yes.
this, I'm like, oh my God. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's so much good information. It's easy to read because you wrote it in such a way that there's bullet points, so you can actually skim it and say,
Yeah.
"That's the point I needed. That's what I needed." I love that. It's a good way of writing, so I appreciate that too.
I appreciate you saying that. It's like, yeah, and honestly, I wrote it for the people that are like me that I mean, not to say that there's anything wrong with like reading books, but like I like
Mhm.
breaking it up in like bullet points and other like
That's so much
tables
more
and stuff
helpful.
like
Yeah.
that. It's just like I would rather consume content like that than just reading like blocks and blocks and blocks of text.
Oh, coming from a former journalist, I was taught I can't write in blocks and blocks of text.
Yeah,
My
right.
posts are always like one or two sentences, then enter, enter, one or two
Yeah.
sentences, and enter, enter, kind of thing. It's just the way I write.
So
Yeah,
that's the way you be successful. It's choppy copy. I've always said like on LinkedIn, like choppy copy because of the way
choppy
people
copy.
scroll. It's
Yeah,
like that's the way like you because most people are looking at LinkedIn on their phone and
yeah.
like they're not going to read a block of text. They're going to
They're
read
gonna look at that
choppy
and say
copy.
next. Yeah,
Yeah,
scroll up exactly.
exactly.
So where can people find you online? I mean, you can go to tactpro.com and check out the community over there. And by the time this comes out, you'll have a new homepage and all that good stuff. I love it. I'm in there, sharing my stuff, talking to people. It's great. You get to talk to Nick through there. He's active in there, probably on his phone, but
It's
but so
yeah, but I mean
where else can they find you online? Obviously LinkedIn, you're very prolific. So,
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely the big spot. I am still on X. I've actually started taking it more serious.
oh wow.
Because I've realized it's a huge. I made a LinkedIn post about this yesterday, but like I've untapped or I've tapped into a huge like undervalued piece that like I'm not connected with on LinkedIn and like the way that I'm framing
Oh,
like my threads over there. Like I've
yeah.
gotten in 3 weeks almost 200,000 views on my stuff.
Wow. Well,
So
hey, if
I've
it works for
started.
you, go for it. Exactly.
Yeah, I am on Blue Sky as well. I've tried it out. I always forget to post there though. I've got
But
like
it's
four
getting now that
followers.
people are like, screw Elon.
Yeah.
They're moving into Blue Sky, and Blue Sky is turning to like a really good alternative. I'm really
Yeah,
like it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm big on Mastodon too, and I love Mastodon, but it's a little bit more complex.
Yeah,
So,
I'm waiting for the next person to create the new LinkedIn, and I will go all in on the new LinkedIn. Whatever it
yeah,
is, whenever it is,
less
like I wish I could
algorithmic.
create.
Oh my God. The algorithm on LinkedIn is like, we had a party. We had a party tonight 3 days ago. And I'm like, come on, give me this today, please. But, it's
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. Yeah. It's just, yeah. So LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
reach out there, head on over to tackgtm.com. That's where like our main page is, but it links off to everything as well.
Well, there you
So
go.
you can find me anywhere.
Awesome, buddy. Just look for the guy with the and listen for the Boston accent.
Boston,
And get
park my car.
park my car, not in the Harvard Yard because we found out that's actually a green now,
Yeah.
and you shouldn't park on there because you'll get arrested. So don't do
Yeah.
that.
That's true.
All right, everyone. We'll see everyone next week.
That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please consider giving us a review in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps us reach new listeners. If you like Entrepreneur's Enigma, consider the other shows on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net.
Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.